miss you.
Wake me when you need me.
God damn it. So the summer of woe is over. This summer kicked my ass. This summer has very much impeded my creative self. I haven't been able to really do much. Aside from make that one video at the beginning of the summer that's really bad and you should not go watch it because it's awful. But I'm not going to delete it because I have integrity. You know, a lot of hospital visits. I wasn't expecting that. Also, this fan is still on. I need to turn that off. A lot of feeling sorry for myself. A lot of self-loathing. Now that the dust has kind of settled on the whole Halo Infinite, situation, I thought it was maybe time to make a video about it because Halo is a very important franchise to me and I really enjoyed the reveal, and I just wanted to talk about reactions to the reveal, my opinion, for good or bad, for better or worse. Let's talk about the visual style. Let's talk about the presentation of the game. You know, graphical issues aside, I think the art style is really good. I think it looks like classic Halo, and I really love that. We see that some elements of the 343 art style are still in place. Elements that don't distract, elements that don't take away from the new yet familiar feel that they're going for. Sprint is back, and I couldn't care less. I don't care. The new weapons look very fun to use, and they look like Halo weapons, and they look like they fit very nicely into the sandbox. You know, the game is open world, which I have my reservations about, if they can make a nice open world with plenty of things to do and not just a set of obstacles for you to traverse in order to get to the next story mission or whatever, if they can populate the world with plenty of worthwhile things and fun things, I think that this could be the best Halo single-player experience of all time. Me and a lot of other people share the opinion that Halo 3 ODST is probably the best single-player experience in the Halo franchise. And that was kind of open world. Open world. We see that there is a tab in the menu for upgrades. It's too early to say anything about them. I've seen people complaining about how it might take away from the sandbox. Playing with the sandbox and upgrading your character can be very far removed from each other, and I think that 343 knows what they're doing, and I think that they will do a good job of separating those two things. However, if these upgrades that you give Chief in the campaign are somehow incorporated into multiplayer, be that as perks or anything like that, that's, I don't know. That'll get my dogs barking. Actually, you know what? Saying that they will get my dogs barking sounds too positive. They will make my dogs spit. They'll make them spit hot acid. I'm more than fine with the classic M40 shotgun and the Magnum being replaced by the Bulldog and the Sidekick. Obviously, the Bulldog will sort of fulfill a very different feeling role to the classic M40 shotgun, being a drum-fed, semi-automatic riot shotgun as opposed to a pump-action shell-fed shotgun. The Sidekick, however, appears to behave the exact same way as the pistol in Halo 5, which, hey, is not the classic Magnum, and no one complained about that when the game first came out, so stop. Also, the Sidekick looks really similar. I mean, it doesn't have the trigger guard, but it looks so similar to the Halo 2 Magnum. You people need to calm down. Brohammer looks like an actual character who might have a little bit of conflict with the Chief, which is interesting. It's much more interesting than having him be sort of just an accessory to Chief. Escharum looks like a really fun villain. I really enjoyed that little snippet of him that we got, and I'm very glad that they're taking that route instead of bringing in the Banished and having Atriox be the main villain, because in all honesty, the story of the Spirit of Fire, Captain Cutter and the Spirit of Fire fighting Atriox's Banished on the Ark, the conclusion of that story should really be saved for a third Halo Wars game. That being said, I wouldn't be opposed to seeing Atriox in the game. That'd be fun. However, online, I did see some people criticizing the performances of Nicholas Roy and Darren DePaul, who play Brohammer and Escharum respectively, saying that their performances are too over the top for Halo. Yet the people who are complaining about it forgot that they are absolutely in love with this.
And then we are going to strangle them with their own living guts.
Submit!
How you doing?
Enter torment and my own! I will know all that I possess!
Well, I don't care if it's God's own anti-son of a bitch machine or a giant hula hoop. We're not gonna let them have it. What we will let them have is a belly full of lead and a pool of their own blood to drown in. Am I right, Marines?
The direction that the narrative is taking after the event that was Halo 5 seems to be pretty good. I mean, I did have my concerns that we were just going to be cowards and forget that Halo 5 ever happened, but that doesn't seem to be the case. Game director Chris Lee said that the section that we saw takes place a couple hours into the game, when Chief and Brohammer are still trying to figure out what's really going on. We are also bringing in the Banished to be a secondary sort of antagonistic force, I guess. Which maybe, I guess, we are kind of being cowards, not making the Created the main antagonistic force, but at the same time, there's a lot of lore nerds like me who really enjoy seeing the Banished get the limelight because they're such a cool faction, but I digress. And also, narrative design lead, his putts,
Paul Crocker.
he has said that, they sort of designed it with the philosophy of this being a good jumping in point for people who aren't familiar with Halo, and that is perfect. There's been a little bit of discourse over the designs of some of the enemies, saying that they look too much like toys. The Banished Brute in particular, I've seen a lot of people complain about that look, and then they will also talk about how much they love this and hate this. Well, I mean, all I'm saying is, me personally, I absolutely love the simplistic, kind of cartoonish and stylized look that 343 is going for. Because really, Halo has always been sort of stylized and cartoony. You go back and look at the original trilogy, and it's so cartoony. It's realistic enough. It's believable. You know, there's a good amount of verisimilitude that Bungie was able to sort of strike a balance between that cartoonish, sort of Starship Troopers-esque look balanced with like realistic military hardware that, you know, looks like something that the military would use if we ever even make it there. If we're not all hiding in bunkers from the COVID scorched beasts, who knows where we'll be by then. And now the elephant in the room. This is the main point that I wanted to get to with this video. The graphical fidelity of Halo Infinite is exactly what I expected it to be. Granted, there's some post-processing effects and some foliage and, you know, the fog in the distance that pops in, the grass, you know, that stuff, that's forgivable for a build that's not the final build. I think that the environments look great. I think the character models look fantastic. Does anyone remember what Halo 3 looked like a couple months before it launched? Oh yeah, that's right. So the real question, does Halo Infinite look next gen? No, not really. Did it need to though? I mean, which is not to say that it looks bad, but it still doesn't look next gen. But this is okay, and I'm going to explain why. I think that there were a lot of people who were overestimating the jump in graphical fidelity between the current generation of consoles and the next. The people who were looking to the Xbox Series X, terrible name, and the PlayStation 5 to literally see God when they play their video games were kind of, you know, they were poising themselves to be disappointed no matter what. And like I said, sure, there's some pop-in issues with the foliage and the fog and the, you know, like those sort of things, and the lighting still needs to be touched up a bit, I think, but a lot of the times those things are the last thing to get touched up before a game goes out the door. Hey! Does anyone remember what Halo 3 looked like a few months before it launched? Halo Infinite looks like an Xbox One game. And, well, it kinda is. We knew from the start that Halo Infinite was going to be the launch title for the Xbox Series X, which now it's not going to be, unless they push the Series X back, which I don't think Microsoft's gonna do, even though there's gonna be nothing to play on the Series X. We knew from the start that it was going to be available also on the Xbox One, like the base model of the console. So it needs to be able to run on that hardware. When you go back in time and you look at like a game on the Xbox One from 2013 versus a game on the Xbox One that came out last week, there's a huge difference in the graphical fidelity of those two games, whichever ones they may be. You even go back to previous generations. You go back and look at an Xbox 360 game from 2005 versus an Xbox 360 game from 2012. You take a look at Halo 3 versus Halo 4, and Halo 4 looks like it should have been a launch title for the Xbox One, honestly. Going back even further, if you look at a PlayStation 2 game from 2001, well, that's not Metal Gear Solid 2. Like, you take a look at one, like a game from that year versus a PlayStation 2 title from 2005. The PlayStation 2 title from 2005 looks like it could have been on the PS3. Well, maybe not the PS3. Maybe it looked like it could have been on the Xbox 360. Because the PlayStation 3 was a monster. Want to know something else? I looked at that trailer for Spider-Man Miles Morales. PlayStation 5 launch title that is also not going to be launched on the PlayStation 4. I took a look at that trailer. It looks like a PlayStation 4 game. I said it. Halo Infinite doesn't look like a big graphical jump compared to Halo 5. And you know what? Miles Morales, that game doesn't look like a giant leap from PS4 Spider-Man. And that's okay. All I'm saying is, here in a couple years, whenever developers get a better grip on the hardware and the infrastructure of these new consoles, then we will start seeing the giant leap that we were expecting, or some of us were expecting. But you might be saying to me, Gavin, Sensual 2 looks so good. And I say to you, those people are warlocks. I don't know how the f they do what they do. Okay, I have one more thing to talk about, and that's the delay. So the delay, I understand it, and I didn't see it coming personally. I thought that Halo Infinite was going to make its date. But truly, I do understand that it is very hard to coordinate game development with a large team remotely. With everything that's going on in the world, it makes sense. But I do also think that the backlash that people had when it comes to the graphics had a lot to do with 343's decision to push the release back. But you know what? If this means that Halo Infinite is going to be the best game it possibly can be, I am all for it, because the game already looks really good and really fun, and I can't wait to play it. And you want to know something? I'm even happier that the Year of Reckoning 2020 is drawing to a close. I'm glad that school's starting up again. I got a capstone project that I need to do. 2020 has been kind of hard for all of us, and honestly, it's almost over. And all I had to say on the matter is, I've gone through my shit. You're probably going through your shit. But just hang in there. We'll all get through it together, maybe. And then by the end of it, we will be, we'll be watching the Batman. We'll be playing Halo Infinite. Miles Morales, Spider-Man will be it'll be great. It'll all get better soon, I'll talk to you later. If you need me, call me. We'll do lunch, I'll pay my treat.
Yeah.